So, my favorite Transformers movie of all time, and it should be obvious what this is, it's Transformers the movie, the original animated movie from the 1980s. And it was absolutely fantastic. And it was fantastic for a couple of reasons. One, it was emotional, amazingly animated. The soundtrack was incredible. But from a capitalist perspective, it was also fantastic because they decided that they needed a new lineup of toys. So, what better way to do that than to have a movie where they kill all the old characters? Traumatize us as children, kill all the old characters, and then give us a whole bunch of new toys to buy.
Not only just kill all the old characters, but kill actual fan favorites. I'm still recovering from watching Optimus Prime die.
Not just Optimus Prime, but the fact that other characters, main characters from the cartoon series, would get killed unceremoniously in seconds during the opening of the film. It was ridiculous. But it was also some real marketing genius. The other thing that I really loved about Transformers the movie, which none of the live action stuff has done to date, and I remember us talking about this when the last movie came out, the Beast Wars thing.
Yep.
And that is tell a story about the actual fucking Transformers. Like, even in the cartoons, Spike and Sparkplug were there, but they weren't the main focus. The main focus was still about these robots because, hey, no one's buying Spike and Sparkplug toys. Everyone's buying an Optimus fucking Prime toy. I want a movie about the goddamn Transformers, and I finally got it with Transformers 1. Like, I am very excited about this movie. I had a great time. I'm not saying it's perfect. It has its issues, but I think it's a step in the right direction. After years and years of bad, mediocre live-action adaptations of Transformers, it's great that the people in charge finally decided to go back to its roots and tell an origin story about the robot set on Cybertron where they have actual robot lives. And that's what I love. I love that kind of stuff, and I got it. Transformers 1 was a lot of fun.
I'm very, very, very happy for you.
Thank you.
Look, I'm not saying Transformers 1 is bad. It's just that as a guy who isn't as steeped or care as much about the Transformers franchise or characters as you do, this movie was fine. I think this movie leaned a little too young for my liking.
Yes, it does lean a bit young.
And it felt a little too much like a TV movie at times, which, to be fair, the original Transformers, the movie, was also a TV movie. I just remember the Transformers film being a little less kiddie than this. Transformers 1 felt very child appropriate.
I think the Transformers movie, the first one by Michael Bay, probably skewed towards a teenager going to college for the first time.
I meant the 86 animated film.
Oh, that one, I think that one, I don't know. It had some dark themes, but it was really still targeted towards young kids because they wanted you to buy toys.
Oh, sure, but it still took itself seriously enough to have, like, the voice casting of that one was fantastic.
To be fair, I think the voice casting here is pretty great as well, in the sense that I think it's very hard to do Optimus Prime. And I think Chris Hemsworth took a big risk taking on this role because that voice is iconic.
Yeah. But he did it enough. He did it well.
I think he did. I think he didn't try to imitate that voice, and I think that's important. I think all of the voices were very good because they were playing characters before they became the characters we know and love. But when they do, there is an added level of gravitas and homage there. When Optimus Prime becomes Optimus Prime, or rather when Orion Pax becomes Optimus Prime, or when D16 becomes Megatron, that's Brian Tyree Henry, or even when Steve Buscemi becomes Starscream, and there's a very interesting explanation as to why he becomes Starscream, or why he sounds like Starscream. I thought all of that was done very, very well. But yes, you're absolutely right. I think this is the studio trying to bring back a very young audience. And it's Hasbro trying to sell toys again.
Yeah.
Because Hasbro, I don't think, has been doing very, very well on the toy front with regards to Transformers. I think this is the movie that might get kids excited again about Transformers toys.
Yeah, honestly, this is a great film for the young kids to get into buying Transformers toys again because it did all the cool things that you want a Transformers toys to do, right? The movie does all of that very well. Like the movie explains the actual transformingness, the reason for them transforming. The movie does, I will say, very beautifully introduce Bumblebee and Optimus Prime and all these characters that we know, you and I, two 40-year-olds know, but introduces them well to a younger generation who may want to pick them up now and play with the toys.
But that's it. I think the way the story is structured as well, with regards to what is going on Cybertron and why this war happens, and this big philosophical dilemma between Orion Pax and D16 or Optimus Prime and Megatron, and the origins of the Autobots and the Decepticons. I thought all of that was executed very well. A lot of it is in the comics, and they've taken ideas from the comics. There's a lot more that happens in the comics, by the way, than any of the cartoons or TV shows or movies. But I think the execution of that and the building of the lore is what is quite exciting, because if they go down this path, then there is some very interesting world building to be had in the Transformers universe, which is something the movies have long sacrificed, right?
Yes.
I think that's why I like it. As a Transformers fan, this felt fresh to me.
I agree. I think even as a non-Transformers fan who has seen all the Michael Bay movies, this felt fresh. You're right. I love the fact that this is a story about the Transformers. It's not about the humans trying to rock around Optimus Prime's legs as he's fighting the next big bad. It's interesting that we're seeing the home planet. We're seeing essentially the history of the Transformers. I didn't know anything about the Primes. All of that I thought was very interesting. I feel like I want a story about the Primes now. But it does a good enough job introducing the idea of the Transformers to actual kids, right? Yes, there will be young kids who have seen the Michael Bay movies, whether or not they should or shouldn't have. Your mileage may vary, but this one is made for young kids. And I think young kids would really, really enjoy this. If they showed any inclination towards the Transformers characters in any of the movies, then I think they will love this.
My nitpicks with the movie are that I'm not a big fan of this animation style. I feel like maybe a hybrid style of animation would have worked better, like what they do with Spider-Verse, with Mitchell versus the Machines, even the Puss in Boots thing, because Universal has been known to utilize that kind of style. I think it might have worked better. We're going to see something similar in The Wild Robot. The whole pure 3D CGI style just feels a little flat for me. And I'm not saying the whole movie was flat, but I'm saying there were bits that felt jankier than others and kept pulling me out of it. So that's what I didn't like about it. The other complaint, and this is really, really a nitpick, but the other complaint is, if you're going to do an animated Transformers movie, get some of that original music back, la. And I don't just mean from the original animated movie, but if you're going to keep saying more than meets the eye, play the goddamn theme song. Surely you have the rights to the song. You have the rights to the franchise. Come on.
I don't know. I understand why they did it.
I don't.
Okay, so now this is where I overthink it, right? Because that song is for the 1986 film where Optimus Prime becomes even more than what he is. Here, he is still just a young punk. He hasn't gotten his prime
That's why you
title
only
yet.
play it at the end credits when he becomes more
I don't know.
than meets
I still
the
feel
eye.
like, it's because he hasn't earned the song yet, dude. I'm okay.
So you think in Transformers 2, they
Yeah,
will use
maybe.
the song?
Maybe.
Just use the
Maybe.
goddamn song.
I'm not that fussed. I will say, I think they should have done better with the songs. I think the song choices throughout the film were not great. That closing credit music is absolute trash.
It's awful.
Yeah, you don't want to use that song, that's fine, but good God, have better music on this. Because just throughout the film, I thought the music cues were terrible.
But no, the comedy is great. The voice acting is fantastic. I think there's a real chemistry between the voice cast that really, really works. I think the lore and the world building is good. For me, this feels like what I want from Transformers. Yet again, not a perfect movie, but definitely going down the right path. If you haven't already, I urge you guys to check out the new run of Transformers and G.I. Joe comics, which starts with what's called Void Rivals, and then it spins off into many, many different Transformers comics, but they're all very, very well written and worth your time. And they do the same thing. They retell the Transformers coming to Earth and that origin story and all of that stuff, but it's really steeped in the world building, and I'm really enjoying those comics. And watching this show reminded me that people were actually paying care and attention to what matters, because God knows we're not seeing it in the live action universe,
Yeah.
with the exception of maybe Travis Knight's Bumblebee. That was a lot of fun, but everything else just bleh. Transformers 1, we think you'll enjoy it. Definitely take your kids, though, if you have them, because I think this is a great introduction into the universe of the Transformers. But prepare to be buying some toys as you step out of the cinema, because God knows Hasbro has set out kiosks in a lot of Malaysian cinemas, so you can buy toys as you exit, which is a very clever thing.
Great idea.
It's what the movie does. It's what the series is about. It's all about selling toys. So let's just embrace that fucking thing.
The only reason you can say that is because your child cannot put together sentences yet.
No, and if I buy him a toy like that, he might choke, and I don't want to kill him.
I think the other thing for you is when your child is old enough to make demands of toys, you'd probably end up buying a couple because one is for you, one is for him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, works out, I guess.
It's just the way it has to be.
Yeah, sorry for your wife, though.
Transformers 1 is now showing in Malaysian cinemas. Go check it out. We recommend it. Let us know what you think once you've seen it. You know how to reach out. Goggler MY, all of our social media feeds. You can also email us on podcast@goggler.my or send us a WhatsApp on the Goggler hotline 012-524-5208. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Goggler Podcast.